If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
I briefly mentioned above the idea of working through an avoidance hierarchy. Avoidance behavior is a huge part of what causes anxiety. When someone avoids something they need to do due to anxiety, their anxiety will snowball over time. Referenced from Lonely to Social Life in 27 Days. Communicate that you don't see their anxiety as a weakness, character flaw, or a sign of them being incompetent in their life, work, or other roles, and as being a parent or friend. Normalize any types of thoughts you can relate to. There are many types of anxiety-based thoughts that people with anxiety disorders experience that even relatively non-anxious people also experience from time to time. For example, most people can relate to fear of being judged or of asking for something and being told no. You can't expect yourself to cure your loved one's anxiety, no matter how smart you are, how much you care about them, or how much time you're willing to put in. If your friend is getting professional help for anxiety, invite them to tell you about what they're learning and working on. If you think the person might interpret your questioning as checking up on them, you'll need to be sensitive about how you do this. Keep it positive by asking them about any useful insights they've gotten, or any anxiety management techniques they've learned that are working well for them. If there is something that isn't working for them about their sessions with their therapist, encourage them to talk to their therapist directly. People who are anxious often avoid bringing up certain topics with their therapist. There are many different options for what can help with anxiety, and it's all about finding the best fit between the person and the strategies. It's no big deal if one particular approach doesn't work for an individual, since there are many other options to try. Getting help for anxiety is often a big step for someone who habitually avoids things that make them feel anxious. Your loved one will likely need all the encouragement you're able to give. The best thing you can do when someone is having an anxiety attack is to be physically present with the person and help them concentrate on slow breathing. Pay attention to what they seem to find calming and what they seem to find aggravating. When they're having an anxiety attack, the person's thoughts will be all over the place when they're in the middle of an anxiety attack. So help them focus their thoughts on their breathing. You can use this overview of breathing techniques for anxiety to learn what to do. There are many ways to help someone with anxiety. You don't need to do all of the above. Pick the one or two suggestions that are appealing and feel manageable to you and your friend/loved one. Be prepared to experiment. You don't need to always get it right. Remind yourself you're doing the best you can. I'm not a psychologist, but I might have something to add. I had strong social anxiety. I was lonely back then and I would think excessively about social things in my life. I would get so afraid that I could barely breathe because I thought people would hear me breathe. Social anxiety is caused by a few things. First and foremost, loneliness. Secondly, by bad social experiences. Your situation and your experiences create thoughts. The thoughts interact with your natural psychological needs. The needs will then communicate with you through emotion. The emotion causes action, or behavior. The behavior causes new situations and experiences and thus thoughts. It keeps looping like that. Example, someone looks at you, and you notice it. Based on your past experience, you think they are judging you negatively. Your need for social connection will make you feel ashamed. Due to the shame, you remove yourself from the situation and are now alone at home. Repeat. However, is that a reasonable reaction? I think, if you have more quality social experiences, you will realize that it is not reasonable to think that someone who simply looks at you is judging you negatively. In other words, you need quality social experiences in order to avoid anxiety-inducing thoughts. And also, you need to have quality, reliable, intimate relations with others. A community where you belong. This can be just 12 people, but the key is that it's high quality. Perhaps read some articles or a book on social stuff. I can recommend Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The last part sounds like manipulation, but trust me, it isn't. It shows how you can influence people in positive ways. It's a fun read and it'll show you many kinds of social interaction and how to make the best out of them. I bet my ass your anxiety will dissolve if you do that. Master small talk. When it comes to social interactions, the most important skill to master is the ability to talk casually to anyone. One cool trick that helped me a lot is walking up to cashiers, or any type of person who's paid to be nice to me, and just talking with them about whatever it is that I need them for. A technical conversation in which they remain polite and considerate towards me. Even if I do something embarrassing, it's not like they are going to say anything. Right, this, more than anything else, gave me the courage to start talking to other people. I actually wrote an entire guide about things that helped me. Feel free to check it out! 5 Tips on making small talk without being awkward. Cheers. As an individual who suffers from social anxiety, I've learned to calm myself internally and talk myself through social situations. For example, let me give you a breakdown of how I handled going to a job interview and working in retail. Let's say my job interview is at 10:30 a.m. I wake up at 7:30 a.m. to do my morning routine and get ready at a nice steady pace. Rushing through this routine just to get a few more minutes of sleep is not ideal. Once you start the day by rushing yourself, you have less energy to face the world. Since my interview is at 10:30 a.m., I show up 30 minutes early. 1015 minutes to mentally calm and prepare myself, and the rest of the time to check in with the company to make a good impression that I showed up a little earlier than requested. Sometime the interviewer will see you right then and there, but usually they don't, so it gives you more time to sit and mentally prepare yourself for the interview. Now it's the big moment. You need to really keep in mind to keep yourself mentally calm. Yes, this is very scary, being one-on-one with a potential employer. You need to sell your skills like a product and make a good impression on this human being. Just keep telling yourself you've got this, and everything will be okay. It'll be over before you even know it. Once I got the job, here came the real battle. Working with people every single day. Having conversations with people every single moment. So what I did was tell myself, alright, it's either I face my fears and talk to people, or I go back to looking for another job and doing this whole interview process all over again. So I picture an image of the person I wanted to be. A more confident and happier version of myself. A social butterfly that could talk to anyone anywhere. And that's exactly what I became when a customer came up to me with questions. So I smiled, nodded and listened. Smiling really works when talking to people. There's a science behind smiling that gets others to reflect your smile right back at you and make a conversation more pleasant. So instead of dreading someone approaching me, I forced myself to approach people. I noticed it helped with that agonizing feeling of waiting for someone to come to me with a problem. When I faced my fears, they seemed not as scary as opposed to the anticipation. The anticipation is what made me nervous. The key here is to transform your nervous feelings into excited ones. It's all about transforming your way of thinking. The people we meet in the world have no idea that we are terrified of having social interactions with them. They just see us as another human being they have to interact with as well. You have to remember, it's fight or flight. Fight your anxiety to get what you want, or flight and allow your anxiety to prevent you from obtaining the things you want. So in simpler words, calm yourself. Give yourself enough time to mentally prepare yourself if needed. Always tell yourself it's going to be okay. Transform your nervous and anxious feelings into a feeling that's preparing you for a situation, not preventing you from doing one. Look into a therapy called RODBT, Radically Open Dialectical Behavior Therapy. This is different from standard DBT. The manual will be out this year, 2018. If you cannot find a therapist trained in it, you can try CBT. The SSRI, Paxil, has also been shown to help with social anxiety. RODBT is the best option though. My son has Asperger's syndrome, of which one of the components is social anxiety. A support group and some professional therapy is probably the best way to go. Often, the person who has social anxiety needs to step out of their comfort zone in baby steps, like going someplace, talking to complete strangers for a few minutes, then gradually build up the confidence level. Sometimes engaging in sports or hobby with a group of people with common interests is a good icebreaker. My son likes trains, and volunteers at a local train museum. He meets a lot of people that way.